Okay then, in today's video, I'm going to show you one of the easiest ways to consistently beat the nightmare NOLI METRONETTE raid. So, jumping straight into it, let's start with the team that we're going to be using. Our ace is going to be Harvesect, which the ability doesn't matter because it only has one ability. For the held item, we'll want Specialty Gloves to increase our damage. For the TPs, we're going to be going with 200 melee attack, 200 range defense, and 100 health. Then for the personality, we'll want very brawny, dull, and clumsy. The only UPs that are really going to matter for our Harvesect are going to be for our melee attack, health, and range defense stats, so we want those to be as high as possible, but for the other stats, it doesn't matter as much. And finally, for the moves, we'll only really need Parasitize, although because of our held item, we'll need to bring 3 random moves, but don't worry, we aren't going to be using those, so it can be any. Next up is going to be our Square 1 Loomian, which of course you can use any Loomian you want, but personally for me, I'll be using Malevolwax because it's super easy to get. Which, if you're going to go with Malevolwax, we're going to use the ability Raging Flame, which is going to make us immune to Pyrokinesis. Then for the held item, we'll go for Clutch Plushie, which will always let us live 1 hit, guaranteed. For the TPs, we're going to go with 160 speed, 200 range attack, and 140 range defense. And for the personality, we'll want very nimble, frail, and tender. The only UPs that are really going to matter is going to be for our speed stat. We'll want it to be 40, because that, along with very nimble and the 160 speed TPs, will get us to the 144 speed mark, which will let us outspeed the Metronettes. But other than that, we'll want our health, range attack, and range defense stats to be as high as possible, while every other stat just doesn't matter as much. And for the moves, we'll want Square 1 to reset the Metronette stat increases, and just in case we end up living after using Square 1, we might as well bring some Fire-type moves like Fire Breath and Incinerate to hit the Metronette with. And lastly is going to be our emergency backup Loomian, which again, you can use any Loomian that you want, although it should preferably be a bug type. And personally for me, I'll be using Garbantis because again, it's super easy to get. Which, if you are going to go with Garbantis, we're going to want the ability Trash Armor, which is going to increase our melee defense stats. For the held item, we'll want a Clutch Plushie, which will always let us live 1 hit guaranteed. For the TPs, we're going to go with 112 speed, 200 melee defense, and 188 range defense. And for the personality, we're going to go with very robust, frail, and clumsy. The only UPs that really matter is going to be for our speed stat. We'll want that to be 40 because when that is paired up with 112 speed TPs, it'll get us to the 143 speed mark, which will let us outspeed the Metronettes. Other than that, we'll want our health, melee defense, and range defense to be as high as possible, while the other stats just don't really matter as much. And when it comes to the moves, we're only really going to need one, which is Battering Ram. And just in case you don't know, this attack is actually going to use our melee defense stat when attacking, which is why we're increasing our melee defense stat instead of an attacking stat, and it's also going to be increased even further because of our ability. Next up then, let's jump into the battle, which I should probably start off by saying, if you're going to solo this raid, some NPCs are going to be better than others. That's because this Metronette is going to have the ability Applied Frustration, which means if you lower any of its stats, it will react by increasing its range attack stats. And of course, you don't have to use this strategy as a solo player, and it is going to be much faster with an actual teammate. But now for the fight, we're going to want to lead off with our Harvesect and spam Parasitize, which, yeah, that's kind of the entire strategy. The only moves that the Metronette has that can hurt our Harvesect is going to be Psycho Blast and Pyrokinesis, which if you're unlucky, these could give you some problems, like dropping your range defense stats or even burning you, but other than that, it has Shadow Pulse, which we resist, and Vital Surge, which we're immune to. So yeah, it just turns out that Harvesect has a really good matchup into Metronette, all while being able to spam Parasitize, which will do quad effective damage, while at the same time healing us based on how much damage we deal. But anyway, our goal is just to spam Parasitize until the Metronette is down to the last health bar or 2, depending on how many stat increases the Metronette gives itself. Which, in this specific fight that I'm showing you, the Metronette didn't actually get a lot of stat increases until the last health bar. And once we get the Metronette down to the last health bar or 2, we'll want to switch into Malevolwax to use the move Square 1, which will remove all of Metronette's stat increases. which, if you've trained your mid-level wax correctly, will always live a hit when we switch into the battle because of our held item, and then we'll always outspeed the Metronette, so at the bare minimum, we'll always be able to use 1 square 1 no matter what. And if we happen to get lucky and our mid-level wax lives after using square 1, we can then either start spamming Fire Breath if we have a lot of health, or we can use Incinerate if we're expecting to faint this turn for a little bit more damage than Fire Breath. But once our mid-level wax faints, we can go back into Haversict and start spamming Parasitize once again until the fight is over. And that's basically how the fight should go most of the time. However, if your Haversict does end up getting knocked out, we'll want to use our Garbantis to take its place. So in this specific battle, you can already see that I got the Metronette down to the last 2 health bars, so we'll want to go into mid-level wax to use square 1 like usual. And after the mid-level wax faints, we'll go into Garbantis to finish off the fight, in Haversict's place by spamming Battering Ram. Now with the fight done, let's quickly talk about the rewards that you can expect to get from this raid, because some of them are unique. So, just like the Ullr Soulburst raids that you can find in this event, you'll get the general 30 cake points, and then 2 random Halloween-themed discs. However, this raid specifically will give you a unique NOLI METRONETTE saddle with a 100% drop rate, a Revenine background made by Honey Kitten with a 25% drop rate, a Void Star disc that has the Alpha NOLI METRONETTE colorations with a 25% drop rate, and lastly is a Nuller Void Star disc that has the Gamma NOLI METRONETTE colorations with an 8% drop rate. So if you want any of these limited time rewards, make sure to grind for them before the Halloween event ends on the 10th of November.